Hi, I'm Raj Mundra, and I'm the Dean of Studies and Biology teacher at Phillips Academy in Andover, Massachusetts. I currently teach a 9th grade biology course and have taught an elective on global sanitation, lead the Niswarth program connecting students and faculty from my school to communities in South Asia for the past 15 years. And I'm really supportive of incorporating climate issues into our academic program.
So my work and my activism started in a crisis. It started when Hurricane Maria hit Puerto Rico in 2017 and devastated the island. It left us without power, without water, without a stable food supply. And I was fortunate enough to stay safe in my apartment, even though my apartment all got flooded and we had to get rid of my room. Everything got mold and whatnot. But even though I was surrounded by my grandparents and my mom who were staying with me, I still felt lonely and I still felt despair. And I would look out the window and I'd see like this gloom just hover over Puerto Rico and what I could see. And that loneliness that I felt, I couldn't bear thinking, if I feel this way and I have my family members and I still have a roof over my head, how could people who have lost their belongings, who lost family members, who lost their homes, how would they feel? So thinking about that and putting myself in other people's shoes was what led me to start my activism. So I started my initiative to provide solar lamps and hand-powered washing machines to the most affected communities around Puerto Rico after Hurricane Maria. So kind of what that story proved to me and showed me was that sometimes even in times of crisis, when we're most vulnerable, when we feel most, despair, is when we have to channel that energy to take action.
And I would just recommend, or I guess my message would be to work together with your peers. Like that is probably the most important takeaway that I have learned out of my work, is that it's so hard to do alone sometimes. And just to lean on your peers who have amazing ideas, to lean on your teachers, on your mentors, on all the resources that you can, in order to work together so that you don't feel like you're carrying all the weight, or that the world isn't in your hands. And that, I think, is a lot more empowering to feel like you can do something about climate change.
Everybody, from really young people, toddlers even, up to really old people, are really excited to see youths engaged in community, and that's that I do think is something unique to youth, where any other age group, it's kind of just sort of expected, not really anything extraordinary. But when youth are engaged with their community, that is very exciting, and that's something we ought to capitalize on. I think this past month ran in my first caucus in my town and won to represent my town at the Massachusetts State Democratic Convention, as a convention delegate to support Ed Markey and the Green New Deal. Convention since called off because of coronavirus, but in a room full of folks, mostly several generations older than me, they were all clearly really excited to see someone of my age, to see youth engaged in the community, and yeah, I think that's a pretty big power, is that when youth are engaged, everyone gets excited about that.
Especially when it comes to the climate crisis and being more sustainable, there needs to be a lot of intergenerational collaboration and dialogue. I think that a lot of times when we approach these issues, and I think that there's another skill that comes with activism and getting involved, is you have to fall in love with the problems, or fall in love with what you see that's wrong, and that's how you're able to find a solution to it. You have to approach it with a sense of openness and positivity, and instead of look at it in a way it's like, oh my God, these companies are polluting my whole environment. That's terrible. Say, oh, wow, these companies are polluting my environment, but this is a great opportunity to stop them. And think of it that way. A lot of times when we identify these problems that we don't agree with, we're kind of blocked, and we're like, oh my God, I wish I could do something about this. And I have to tell you that before my main activism began, I always had a drive to be more involved in my community and impart positive change, but I hadn't found that spark that drove me. I'd always been like, oh, it'd be great if this happened, or it'd be great if that happened, but I never had the drive to actually start. And I learned that sometimes we need that push, that impetus that just pushes us forward and gets us on the way. So find that thing that makes you passionate, find that opportunity to go forward. Going back to the whole idea of intergenerational dialogue, teachers, elders, make spaces for students, make spaces for us that allow us to really think critically and work together. Solving the climate crisis doesn't have a textbook solution. There isn't a one size fits all approach. So when we're given the opportunity to explore different ways and tackle different areas of it, that's how we can get the most done. I mean, you see it here, Claire, Eli, and I, we work in 3 different fields, right? And Mr. Mundra, yourself as well, as a teacher. That's what we need. There's no one size fits all approach. So we need these spaces to be able to work together in the things that make us passionate.
I would just like to thank Sea Change from the Harvard School of Public Health for giving us the opportunity to discuss the importance of youth activism in climate change and collaborate with teachers and peers.
So let's talk about ways in which we can take action. I believe all actions start with observations and curiosity. This means reading, watching videos, wondering, and talking. Let's not underestimate how important this is. Climate issues are complex, and you want to be well informed. Consider sources of information and pay close attention to what the scientists are reporting. We have to believe the science and ask good questions. Also, doing well in school to build and to practice your research, questioning, communication, and leadership skills are also essential. If you're interested in the issues, I believe it's meaningful to have a sense of what's also important to you. What bothers you about climate change? If the issues are personally important to you, you are going to be more likely to act. I can think of 2 reasons why climate action is important to me and to my students. Number 1, climate change is connected to everything. Our quality of life, humans, and all living beings, equity and justice, social structures, economic systems. You could think about any issue and climate change is connected. Number 2, climate action is an urgent issue. What we do today will have immediate and long-lasting impact. If you are curious with your head, and if you care with your heart, then you have a lot of energy to act. And if you feel something stirring inside and bothering you around climate change, please pay attention to that. The good news is you can contribute in many different ways. One framework my students and I have used in different communities is called Design for Change, DFC. Originating at the Riverside School in Ahmedabad, India, DFC is a global program that equips young people to become agents of change. Their framework is a 4-step process: feel, imagine, do, share, that helps people to build empathy, brainstorm ideas, implement solutions, and inspire others. It does require keen observation, wild imagination, inclusive collaboration, careful planning, and resilience in order to create responses that meet the needs of a community. So I encourage you to go to their website for information and inspiration. When I asked my colleagues and students about specific approaches that students take to do work that makes a difference, around climate change, there were some common themes. One, start small. Make a commitment to start and to continue. Engage in local organizations, school, community, places of worship. It's important to make local connections and to learn how to advocate with others for change. Partner with passionate students and teachers and community members. Join activist organizations committed to social justice. This can give you deeper perspectives on issues connected to climate change. And use the power of the internet to learn and to connect with others. It's very accessible to get involved, even when there are restrictions to stay at home and not gather in groups. Finally, consider changing personal habits to reduce your carbon footprint. We've seen high school students at their schools so active in climate change movements in many different ways, including advocating for better recycling and more green practices, integrating climate issues into school curriculum, researching divestment, analyzing energy use data from their school. We see students in their community organizing protests, lobbying on a local and national level, and using a climate action plan, organizing worksheet to plan a project. Your voice matters, and we will listen. Eventually, your vote matters, and that will make a difference too. My last comment is about change. One of my students recently wrote, "It's been so impressive to see people my age initiating change. It's really empowering and makes me, as a peer, want to become more involved." This reminds me of one of my favorite quotes, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," by Mahatma Gandhi. I've also heard an interesting derivative of that quote. Being the change changes the being. So it's no coincidence to me that an organization that has made this series possible is called See Change. Let's all take a leap of faith and act to make the world a better place. We're all in this together, and I wish you well.